Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Breaking news late yesterday afternoon, President-elect Trump named Pam Bondi as his pick for Attorney General after Matt Gaetz withdrew his consideration. We have the latest updates on a story that's just not going away. Is Biden canceling billions in Ukrainian debt just another America last move? Stick around. This one is quite interesting and concerning. Who's in charge at the White House? Could President Donald Trump and Senate Republicans finally make good on the promise to abolish the Department of Education? We're breaking it all down for you today in the latest. And pronoun debates in volleyball. The fight over fairness in women's sports takes center stage in a Colorado courtroom where an emergency hearing in Colorado on Thursday had to hit pause before it ever even started. Why? Because nearly an hour was spent debating whether to use she and her pronouns when referring to Blaire Fleming, who is a biological male, but is playing on the female volleyball team at San Jose State. More on this story.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills, but I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Well, things kind of got interesting yesterday as Matt Gaetz withdrew his nomination amid allegations of impropriety. President-elect Trump made a major announcement naming former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi to lead the Department of Justice. So here's what we know, and here's what happened. Trump took to social media yesterday evening to announce Bondi's nomination, praising her tough-on-crime record and commitment to fighting drug abuse during her time as Florida's Attorney General. He highlighted her leadership on his Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission during his term, saying, "We saved many lives. Pam Bondi is no stranger to the spotlight," as she stepping into a pivotal moment. It got quite interesting. It was kind of surprising because Matt Gaetz is typically the one who's up for a fight. Evidently, during his meeting with senators, when Senator J.D. Vance, soon-to-be Vice President J.D. Vance, introduced some of the Trump nominees to U.S. senators yesterday, Matt Gaetz must have realized that he had a tough fight on his hands. This choice of Pam Bondi, of course, comes as a shakeup in the Trump's transition plans. Probably not the last. There's speculation that Pete Hegseth may be next. Former Representative Gaetz withdrew as the nominee for Attorney General earlier today, calling the allegations against him a distraction. Gaetz denies the claims. His decision clears the way, though, for Bondi, who brings in years of prosecutorial experience and a proven track record in law enforcement. Bondi's credentials. She has a great resume. She spent nearly 2 decades as a prosecutor, cracking down on violent criminals and keeping Florida's family safe. As the state's first female attorney general, she took on major battles against drug trafficking and the fentanyl crisis. It earned her a recognition as one of the toughest attorney generals in the country. President-elect Trump says that she's the right person to refocus the Department of Justice to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. Bondi will be inheriting a Department of Justice that Trump has repeatedly been critical of for being weaponized against conservatives. Her mission, according to the president-elect, will be to restore trust in the DOJ and prioritize law and order, and let's be honest, that's not going to be a small task with the embedded bureaucrats within the Department of Justice. But if anybody can do it, Pam Bondi can with Donald Trump's support. Her nomination marks another bold move by the Trump administration. It's different, and it's going to be a shakeup, but that's what we want. That's what the American people voted for, right? A shakeup. The challenges that she'll face in confirmation will be nothing compared to what Matt Gaetz was about to face. So stay tuned. This could get kind of interesting as we move forward and we move into the confirmation phase when the Senate goes back into session in January. So what about Matt Gaetz? In some circles, he's considered one of the most controversial figures in American politics. After withdrawing from consideration for Attorney General, the big question is, what's next for Matt Gaetz? From potential roles in the Trump administration, maybe roles that do not require Senate confirmation, the possibilities are kind of intriguing. As you know, Gaetz immediately resigned his House seat upon being nominated to Attorney General, and I wonder if he regrets that. It was kind of surprising at the time, wasn't it? Why he just immediately resigned. Some are speculating, well, can he go back? Well, I guess in theory he could. He could run. He's already resigned, so the seat is vacated. There's going to be a special election. I guess in theory he could run again. I'm not sure that he wants to. I'm not quite so sure that he resigned so quickly to avoid what was about to happen with the House Ethics Committee. And we'll probably never know exactly what that whole story is. But it's going to be hard for President Trump to use him in any position within the administration because there's just so much about these charges. And the fact that he withdrew from being an Attorney General, it's almost an admission that, hey, I've got some skeletons in my closet that I need to deal with, and I don't need to put the president through this. So if it applies to the Attorney General, wouldn't it apply to any other potential position that Donald Trump may be considering for him? TheHill.com speculated on what Matt Gaetz' next step could be. And, of course, one of those could be another role in the Trump administration at a later time, one that, again, doesn't require Senate confirmation. It would sidestep what many are calling the Kavanaugh on steroids hearing, because that's probably what would happen with Matt Gaetz. He could go back to Florida and run for something else. Some say that Gaetz is eyeing a gubernatorial run once Governor Ron DeSantis finishes his term in 2026. But let's face it, the baggage that he has and the fact that he withdrew from this probably is going to make that tough. Political strategist Dan Eberhardt didn't mince words, calling Gaetz damaged goods and urged donors to back someone else. If Gaetz does run, he could face off against another rising star in the GOP, Congressman Byron Donalds, who is thought to be a candidate as well. Maybe he goes into media. He's already proven that he can dominate the airwaves. Between his Firebrand podcast, guest hosting gigs on Newsmax, and appearances on other conservative platforms, some are saying maybe he could make a full-time leap into the media. Newsmax even called Gaetz incredibly smart, bold, and unafraid, with insiders speculating that he could land his own show there, possibly. And there's the Senate rumors. Could Matt Gaetz maybe end up in the Senate? With Marco Rubio likely heading to the State Department, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has to will appoint a replacement, a temporary replacement. Names like Ashley Moody, that the current Florida Attorney General, has been mentioned. Jeanette Nunez has been mentioned. Gaetz' history with DeSantis makes this an interesting, though probably unlikely, possibility, but you never know. Politics can bring certain crazy things. President Trump may lean on Governor DeSantis and call in a favor. I don't know if Ron DeSantis feels like he owes him a favor, but who knows? Gaetz could be appointed, serve until 2026 when a special election will take place, and then win that to serve the rest of the sentence, or the rest of the term. Maybe it is a sentence. I misspoke there. There's lots of options there for Matt Gaetz. But I will always wonder if he regrets resigning so quickly from the House, and if that was by design. If he really knew what was about to happen, and maybe he knew that it was going to get bad with the House. It's going to be interesting. And there's also he could go to work for some think tank, some other political organization. because he is a smart guy and he knows policy. He knows the law. So I don't think we can count Matt Gaetz out. It's just probably going to be in a different role than what we have come to know Matt Gaetz for. We know him as the U.S. congressman who's not afraid to question anything. We know him as the representative from Florida who will challenge anybody and who always has the progressive liberals standing attention because he is fearless. And had it not been for this little bump, I was looking forward to having Matt Gaetz as the Attorney General. If he hadn't have had this problem in his background, he would have been a fantastic Attorney General because he would have been like a dog with a bone. He would not have left any stone unturned when it comes to investigating some of the crazy things that the Democrats have done. And I think he would have gotten to the bottom of so many things. Now, Pam Bondi will do likewise. Pam Bondi will be a good one as well. Just probably a little more calmer than Matt Gaetz. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD Weight Loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD Weight Loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part, PhD Weight Loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD Weight Loss Program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. Surprising news yesterday out of Illinois as the Illinois Supreme Court has overturned the former Empire star's conviction for allegedly staging a racist and homophobic attack on himself in Chicago back in 2019. We're talking about Jussie Smollett, of course. This decision, as the Chicago Times called it, a blockbuster, spares Smollett a 5-month jail sentence, but it's unlikely to clear the controversy surrounding his name. The ruling hinged on Smollett's argument that a special prosecutor should have never been allowed to step in after the Cook County State's attorney initially dropped the charges. You'll remember the uproar Smollett caused when he claimed that 2 men attacked him, shouted slurs, racial slurs, and even placed a noose around his neck. Prosecutors later alleged that he staged the attack because he was dissatisfied with his studio's response to hate mail that he had received earlier. Smollett was convicted in 2021 on 5 counts of disorderly conduct, but his attorneys argued the case was effectively closed when he forfeited a $10,000 bond and performed community service until a grand jury reinstated the charges. In yesterday's ruling by the Illinois Supreme Court, they said the state violated the principle of honoring agreements made with defendants. This case has been in the headlines and has captivated the nation, folks, and tonight Smollett walks free, but the debate over justice in this case is far from over. Well, I don't know that we'll ever know the truth about what really happened to Jussie Smollett. On the text line, texter says, Joey, all this is reminiscent of COVID days. They're going to get rid of all the non-essential workers. Good, it's about time. Now, this is in reference, I think, to the effort that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are undertaking in this new departmental agency that's going after government waste and eliminating a lot of the non-essential federal employees. Texter Susan from Hartwell says, since Susan Smith's rich boyfriend didn't want her children around, why didn't she sign them over to her husband instead of drowning them? Well, Susan, that's the million-dollar question that has been asked by many over the past 30 years. Anyone with a little bit of compassion, a little bit of common sense, would have gladly done that, because I'm sure that, in fact, I know that David Smith would have loved to have raised his two sons without Susan Smith. She was sick. She still is sick. Texter, send education responsibilities back to the states. Yep. Look, that's. I'm going to be talking with you in just a minute about that. It looks like that the Trump administration is really going to try to eliminate the Department of Education after all these years of Republicans railing against it. Texter, also reforming Medicare is needed. South Carolina spends too much on it as well. Look, I think everything is going to be reevaluated. And this doesn't mean we need to go into panic mode that Trump's going to eliminate Medicaid and Medicare and those type things. But there's probably things that can be done that will make it run more efficiently. And you put a couple of businessmen, billionaires, like the two, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and let them run the government like they'd run their business, and the government can make some money, or at least not lose as much, or run more efficiently. Texter, would love to see Education Department closed, and I'm hopeful, but I don't think it'll happen. Government has become so big, sadly. Yes, it has. Our federal government, our founding fathers would have a stroke if they could see what our federal government looks like today. It's like crack cocaine, and the bureaucrats can't get off of it. They can't do it themselves. That's why it's going to take something that is just extraordinary, like this new agency that Trump has created to look at just the reorganization of our government. Ace writes, Joey, those illegals walked over here, they can walk back. Take them to the border, pour them back into their country at gunpoint. Have a great day. God bless America. You know, Ace, I wish it were that simple. Unfortunately, it's not. But you're right. They got here. They should be able to find their way back. Jeff writes, this thing on illegals makes no sense to me. They're illegal. That's the key word. They're not Americans. They are illegal. Immigrants broke the law to get here. They have no rights. They do not deserve to be here. You're so right on that as well. JR from Westminster on the MyPillow message line.
Good morning, Joey Hudson. This is your friend JR from Westminster. I would just say for all of your listeners all across the nation, going forward, as President Trump is putting his cabinet together, for everyone to contact their congressional representatives and their Senate representatives. Simply, almost 80 million people voted for President Trump, and that includes his administration, total cabinet, all of his appointments as well. And the legislation just doesn't get it. And so they need to hear from the people as well. Because if they can't get on board, then they need to be replaced themselves. This is the year of make God first again. Then we can make America great again. God bless, my friend.
You too can leave a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you place your order at MyPillow.com. And MyPillow is glad to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get the season's flannel sheets as low as $59.98. They're not going to last long, so get your order in right away. The famous My Slippers. They haven't been on sale for over a year. Regular price $119.98. When you use promo code Joey, get them for $59.98. You can wear them anywhere. The 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98 with promo code Joey. Call 800-893-4058 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey to get the very best deals. Faye is on the MyPillow message line as well.
Hey, Joey. This is Faye. From listening to Mike Gallagher, it sounds like that you and Peg might be going to New York. For goodness sakes, don't y'all let him get you into any trouble up there. I've never landed in New York. I've only flown over it. But what I've seen on TV lately makes me think it could be a very dangerous city. joking aside, y'all do have a good Thanksgiving, but please be careful. Take care.
Yes, Faye's right. We are headed to New York next week to see the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade in person. Appreciate your message. You too can leave a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY. Whether you're replacing a broken appliance or maybe you're just upgrading, you're totally remodeling the kitchen, when it's time to get those new appliances, when you're ready for them, you don't want to have to wait weeks or even months to get started using them, right? Well, that's not the case when you shop with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. With over 11,000 square feet and 1,500 appliances at any given time, you can buy today and use today quite often. I'm talking about shopping with my friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. It's worth the short drive over to Pickens. Jeff, Johnny, Kyle, the whole team over there, they'll take good care of you. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation, extended warranties, and at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they treat you like family. You're more than just a credit card swipe to all the team over there. Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they're proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with manufacturer's warranties that cover parts and labor. You owe it to yourself if you're looking for a new appliance to head over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. I had a number of text messages about the Ellen DeGeneres story. She and her wife leaving the country because Donald Trump was elected. Texter writes, regarding Ellen leaving the U.S. amongst other celebrities, this just goes to show that Donald Trump hasn't even taken office yet, and America is becoming great again. Another texter says, Ellen is worried about being exposed criminally. Roger writes on the text line, Joey, they couldn't stay long enough. Don't ever look back. Stay over there. Another texter says Ellen will stay in England until she finds out that their government has problems also, and when Russia lobs its first missile their way. Keep those text messages coming. You can email me too, joey@joeyhudson.com. Major story out of Washington yesterday has a lot of people scratching their heads. The Biden administration just told Congress they're planning to cancel almost $5 billion in loans owed to the U.S. by Ukraine. That's right. Money borrowed from American taxpayers could soon just vanish like his student loan debt. And you're never going to guess who's pushing back. Here's the story. Earlier this year, Congress approved a massive $60 billion aid package for Ukraine, which included $9 billion in loans. Now, a loan means it is going to be paid back at some point, right? Just like student loans, you get your education, you pay it back. But Joe Biden and Kamala Harris seem to have a different opinion of what a loan means. Now, half of that $9 billion in loans, $4.65 billion to be exact, is being wiped away with a stroke of a pen. According to the State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller, the administration is acting under a law that gives them the authority to forgive the debt. But there's a catch. Congress can still push back with a resolution of disapproval. Now, let's see if the GOP will do this. And guess what? Representative Thomas Massie, along with Senator Rand Paul, both from Kentucky, say they're going to do just that. They're going to work to block this move. Massie took to X yesterday, formerly Twitter, saying Biden's plan is just another example of his America Last agenda, and he's not alone. Others are calling it a slap in the face to American taxpayers, which it is. And Joe Biden is on his way out. He is a lame duck president, and he's giving our money away, just like he's given it away for 4 years now. It's just not about forgiving loans. In the weeks since President-elect Donald Trump's victory, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have ramped up their support of Ukraine, from approving long-range missile strikes into Russia that could get us in war, to sending more weapons and even military contractors. This administration seems determined to double down on a war that many believes needs serious rethinking, not escalation. And you would think that with just weeks left in his administration, at the very least, he would defer to the incoming Trump administration. He would just not do anything. But he's rushing to do some of these things before Donald Trump takes office, purposely. Meanwhile, Russia's not backing down either. This week, they launched an intercontinental ballistic missile towards Ukraine. Reports are coming in about North Korean troops fighting alongside Russian forces. I mean, the stakes are higher than ever, but does that mean America should keep writing blank checks? That the billion or 175 billion or there's always a B beside it. Donald Trump most likely would not approve of this, but we at least at this point should get his feedback, right? And where does the incoming administration stand? Speaking of Donald Trump, Trump's made it clear he plans to take a very different approach, saying that he could end the war in 24 hours by bringing Putin and Zelensky to a negotiating table. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't know if in fact he can really do that. But whether or not it's possible is a question that at least Joe Biden should just get out of the way and see if Donald Trump can do that. The Biden administration should be inviting Donald Trump to be a part of these decisions, not unilaterally making them and hoping that Congress doesn't call him to the mat. This is just another costly decision from the Biden administration that could leave American taxpayers, you and me, footing the bill yet again. And it's not about helping an ally. It's just about more reckless spending from a president on his way out. Wow. In other Washington news, could Trump and Senate Republicans finally make good on the promise of abolishing the Department of Education? You know, this has been a mainstay among Republicans for years. I mean, how long have we've been railing against the Department of Education almost from the day it was created? President-elect Trump's campaign promise was to shut down the Department of Education, and it's gaining some traction. South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds introduced a bill that may make it happen. The big question is this the start of a major overhaul in how education is handled in our country? Here's what we know. Remember when President-elect Trump vowed to close up the Department of Education, send education decisions back to the states? He said it a number of times during the campaign. Senator Mike Rounds has delivered the first step in that plan. His Returning Education to Our States Act would dissolve the department entirely and reassign its responsibilities to other federal agencies and ultimately to local and state governments where it should be, right? Education should be as local as it could possibly be. And that's in our communities. I mean, I'm not even sure that we need it to be returned to the states. I think it should be returned back to the counties. Senator Rounds did not hold back, calling the department a bureaucratic mess that has never educated a single student. He argues that state and local leaders, not unelected officials in D.C., those education bureaucrats, knows what's best for the students. And he's right. I mean, again, I would argue that not even the state Department of Education. Keep education at the very local level where parents can be involved. You know what? When Senator Rounds talks about parents being involved in their communities, we've seen this movement growing with like Moms for Liberty and all these other grassroots education type organizations who want more control over their children's education. This has been growing for years. So how would it work under the Rounds plan? Programs currently overseen by the Department of Education would simply be reassigned. For example, he talks about Native American education programs would go to the Department of Interior. It makes sense. Of course, now, I told you yesterday how Milton Friedman suggested that the Department of Interior should have been abolished years ago. And I think Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy may have the Department of Interior in their crosshairs. But let's assume there's a Department of Interior. We'll send that over to them. Loan and grant programs, send it over to the Department of Treasury. Now, we know the Department of Treasury is not on the chopping block. It'll always be there. Before, a lot of the others will go away. The Department of Treasury will always be there because that's what feeds Washington. Disability programs could shift to Health and Human Services, according to Rounds. Career training would move to the Department of Labor. And the Fulbright Hays program for international research, that would go to the State Department. This isn't just slashing the department. It's about rehoming these programs, and in many cases, where they probably should belong to begin with. With the Republican trifecta in Washington having control of both houses of Congress and Donald Trump in the White House, maybe it's not a long shot anymore. I don't know that, even though we've been talking about it for decades, I don't know that anyone ever really believed that we could eliminate the Department of Education. Because think about it. I'm not sure, has there ever been a cabinet level position like that, a federal agency like that has there ever been one that's been eliminated? I mean, we just always add them, like the Department of Education, like the Department of Energy. Department of Energy, that's another one that should go away. But maybe this is not pie in the sky anymore. With Trump support, the growing momentum within Congress, it might not be as far-fetched as we think. Of course, not everyone's happy about it. You've got the usual suspects who are pushing back. By the way, until we can do that, there still has to be a Secretary of Education, because right now we still have a Department of Education. Trump announced yesterday Linda McMahon is going to be his pick for Secretary of Education. And speaking of shaking things up, McMahon, the former head of the WWE and Small Business Administrator, education is about to get a serious overhaul, WWE style. So, I look at this as the long overdue shift of putting power back in the hands of states and especially parents. This is eliminating some of the red tape. It's going to create a debate on the future of education, but a good debate. It's going to make us look at ways of providing a better education, because what we're doing now is not working. I think we all agree with that. So stand by, folks. This is the whole debate over what to do with the Department of Education is going to be quite interesting, just like a lot of things that we're going to see over the next 4 years as Donald Trump and a new breed of cabinet secretaries coming in with the mandate from you and me to look at things differently, to not think about, well, this is how we've always done things, so we have to continue. When things aren't working, that's when you start looking at how you can do it differently so that it does work. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Wrapping up on this Friday, big news out of Pennsylvania yesterday. Republican businessman Dave McCormick has defeated three-term Democrat Senator Bob Casey in one of the closest Senate races this cycle. Now, we've known this for weeks, you and I have, but it's official now. Bob Casey, officially conceded yesterday, saying that he called Mr. McCormick to congratulate him and emphasize that every vote mattered in the recount process. The race was so tight it triggered an automatic recount, with the Associated Press calling it for McCormick 2 days after Election Day. A ruling from Pennsylvania Supreme Court earlier this week, barring improperly dated mail-in ballots, likely played a decisive role in his decision. McCormick's victory flips a crucial Senate seat for Republicans, of course. After narrowly losing the 2022 GOP primary to Dr. Oz, McCormick now steps into a pivotal leadership role. He praised Casey's years of service but vowed to deliver on a platform of economic strength, energy dependence, and secure borders. The win's another blow to Democrats and a sign of shifting momentum as Republicans tighten their grip on Washington and the mandate delivered by the American people. I talked with you yesterday, I think it was yesterday, about this story out of Colorado. A heated courtroom battle made headlines again yesterday about the eligibility of a trans volleyball player at San Jose State that's led to a lawsuit, a conference-wide controversy, and a lengthy court debate over pronouns. Again, we talked about this. We've talked about it several times over the past few weeks. The saga continues. In an emergency hearing in Colorado yesterday, they had to hit pause even before they started. Why? Because nearly an hour was spent debating on whether to use she and her pronouns when referring to Blaire Fleming, who is a trans athlete playing for San Jose State's women volleyball team. Now, Blaire Fleming was actually is a biological male. So that's why there was the question on whether it should be, she should be, this is where it gets confusing. She should be referred to as he or he is a she. Federal Judge Cato Cruz ultimately decided to use she and her pronouns, but said others could choose for themselves. Talk about priorities when you're trying to decide what kind of pronouns to use in a court case that's this serious. The case was brought by Mountain West volleyball players and schools like Utah State. It challenges the conference's gender eligibility policies that allowed Fleming, again a biological male, to compete in women's sports. This is just like the debate that took place in women's swimming a couple of years ago. The plaintiffs are asking the court to prevent Fleming from playing in the upcoming conference tournament and to erase forfeits from their records after teams refused to play San Jose State this season. One of the players who's involved with the suit, Brooke Slusher, told Laura Ingraham that she is stepping up and speaking out so that her teammates, who are intimidated and scared, don't have to. She told Fox News that she has a lot of support from her team.
There is so much love and support. And again, like, I have so many best friends on my volleyball team. It's just that, again, there's so much pressure put on us to not talk about it and not voice your opinion that so many are just still so terrified to talk. So behind the scenes, I do have a lot of love and support from my team. So that's all that I could ask for. And I'm not asking them to stand up and talk because that's what I've decided to do. And I'm doing this for me and for them.
Again, that was Brooke Slusser, one of the teammates who is part of this lawsuit, trying to prevent this young man from playing on a women's volleyball team. Also in the Ingram angle, former NFL sidelines reporter Michelle Tafora says this is forcing people to deny the truth about the simple difference between men and women.
This is what is so shocking about this whole thing, and I think this is why this played a role in the election. I know it. First of all, bravo to Brooke. Hang in there, kid. We got your back. But this is insane. And what it's done is it's not just taken spots away from women on teams, awards from women on teams. It has asked normal people to deny the truth in life that men and women are different. It is forcing people to shut up and not say what is true, Laura. You and I have talked about this. What is true is that men and women are biologically different. And you don't see women going over and playing in men's sports, women who identify as men. They don't go into that avenue because they wouldn't survive it. But men are coming over to the women's side. And so not only are the numbers growing and awards are being taken away, but you are imposing on this team, on this conference, on these players, and on all of us that we just shut up and deny the facts of life. And that is a scary place to be in America.
Ms. Tafoya went on to tell Laura Ingraham that the best thing to happen is for these young women in sports to just start sitting it out, sit the game out, literally stop playing in order to get the attention of the schools and the leagues.
Michelle, very quickly, is it going to take just more women coming out saying we're not playing? We're just opting not to play for this to finally end?
That is the way.
Really quick.
That is the way. That is the way. I think it is becoming effective. I think, unfortunately, lawsuits are going to happen. But the women who are involved need to want it the most, not the rest of us out here. The women involved need to want it the most. And it's hard to ask them to sacrifice, but they've got to sit it out. They've got to sit down.
You agree? I mean, that's kind of unfair. You have these young ladies who have worked hard to make it in collegiate sports, and then to ask them to just sit it out in order to put pressure on their schools and on the NCAA to recognize how unfair it is to allow young men to participate. And the thing you need to understand, and I hope I made it clear a minute ago, this Brooke Slusser and some of these young ladies involved in this lawsuit, Brooke Slusser is suing her own team. She is part of the San Jose State volleyball team, and she doesn't think it's fair to have a male on her team. And the reality is, once again, we have a single person, this young man, who's decided he wants to play on the girls' volleyball team, disrupting everything. San Jose State's opponents forfeited 6 matches this season over the controversy, which has shook up the conference standings. Those forfeits have helped San Jose State secure a 12-6 conference record and the 3rd seed in the Mountain West tournament. And let's not forget, Ms. Fleming, or Mr. Fleming, has been a standout performer, ranking 3rd in the conference in kills per serve despite playing fewer games. I mean, this case is just part of the problem. It signifies, it really puts a spotlight on the problem of this fight over fairness in women's sports. And I can't believe we're still having it. Critics argue that allowing biological males to compete in women's athletics undermines decades of progress for female athletes, and it does. Meanwhile, you have organizations like Mountain West who are scrambling to enforce policies that keep everyone happy, trying to please everyone, and you're not going to please everybody. You need to protect the young women who are biological females and who have worked most of their life to get there, not some young man who couldn't compete in men's sports. You're allowing one man to be so disruptive. Judge Cruz said he'll issue a ruling soon, just days before the Mountain West tournament kicks off next week. And get this, the conference has a contingency plan if teams refuse to play San Jose State. If opponents forfeit their way through the bracket, San Jose State could end up crowned champions without playing a single game. Now, how fair is that? That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.